Back to Court TV Live. I'm Matt Johnson. The man accused of killing 3 women in the Gilgo Beach area is scheduled to be back in court on August 1st. But while Rex Heuermann sits in jail, the daughter of convicted serial killer understands what his family might be going through. Recently, I spoke with Kerri Rawson, who is the daughter of Dennis Rader, otherwise known as the BTK serial killer. Take a listen.
So we know Rex was arrested the night before. So my question is, did they notify the family the night before? Did they contact them? Did they quietly notify them and move them somewhere safe? My family was notified right after my father was arrested. So, you know, there was news coming out that there had been an arrest, but I still don't even really know what was out that first, like, say, 24 hours till the press conference. And so my reality is very different from, say, media or the public. And so it's my hope that Rex's family, you know, was contacted privately and notified the night before. For the family, that whatever that notification was, it's just like, your whole life is altered right at that moment, and you're going into shock. And so, like, it was key for law enforcement to interview us quickly, to clear us, right? Because they need to clear you, make sure, like, especially with like older adults, like that nobody else is involved, like the wife. And then they want to like get information from you, like dates and times and, you know, alibis, because they have this massive investigation going on. And honestly, like, I was shutting down very quickly. So I was going into shock, physically shaking while I'm being interviewed by the FBI agent.
Family members of serial killers are asked all the time if they knew something, and how could they not know something? So what's your answer to that?
I got asked it again today on Twitter. I mean, it's been 18 years for my family. I mean, some of these families going back to like the big ones in the 70s. I mean, you're talking 40, 50 years now for these families, multi-generations being like harped on, like, how did you not know? The reality is, like, if you're a sane, functioning person, if you had come across any of this stuff, like we found in my dad, like law enforcement found in my dad's house, or they're finding in Rex's house, like, you would notify the police right away, right? And what you're dealing with, and I'm trying to educate and speak up on, is like, I can't speak for Rex's family, but in my family's personal case, we were all multi-levels of abuse victims for decades. And so my father was like emotionally and mentally abusing us. It wasn't just controlling us, but it was like to the levels of criminality, of like pathologically lying in our house and controlling our environment down to where he could sit and where my shoes needed to be. And so I was a crime victim before I was born. My mom was pregnant when my dad committed his 7th. And so the reality is that for, like, especially for children like me, we're born into this family, and we're raised from the get-go by these people. So we really have no idea what his family has gone through, what levels of victimology they've been through, what they're dealing with now. And really, my best advice to anybody public and in the media is just be sensitive that, like, his family are victims too, and they're crime victims.
And that's the reason why she speaks out. Daughter of the BTK serial killer, that is Kerri Rawson, still with us. Jack Rice, Josh Schiffer. So your reaction to her really trying to make awareness that there are other victims when we talk about someone accused of murder?
Yeah, Making Faces, partially great interview, by the way. What we know is that when you're talking about serial killers, or sometimes even those who just simply commit one serious crime like this, frequently sociopathic, psychopathic, but they compartmentalize. And so there are times when they do what they do in isolation from those around them. This is a part of their process. And so some just imagine, well, you must know that this person did this. But sometimes it isn't that simple. They are purposeful. They are intentional. They're trying to keep these people close. They want them there, but if they knew, if those people, if those loved ones of mine even know who I really was, they would not stay. So contemplate what it is to be the person who wants them there desperately. How hard will they work to make sure that they keep those things in that box that they put up on the shelf?
I've spoken to her on and off throughout the years, and she has always told me, like, she and her mother would have run from the house screaming had she known who her father was, such a demon, an evil spirit. Before you chime in, I want to get reaction to this. She also talks about the victims in all of this and their families waiting so long for justice and just to have an answer. And right now, we might have an answer with an arrest there in the Long Island case. Let's take a listen to that.
The victims' families, you know, they've been waiting, like some of them for decades, for answers. Now we don't know right now how much is like equated to Rex, but like for at least the 4 Gilgo Beach, like they've been waiting so long.
Josh.
With something so traumatic, it's very easy to miss everybody else affected by the ripples in the pond. And we're all familiar with that, or the butterfly effect, where the actions over here really affect people far away, removed or not removed from the actual individual arrest. We've got these daughters and a spouse. My heart breaks for them, but at the same time, I want to make sure that the police are doing their job and investigating, because it is hard to imagine how you'd miss such terrible behavior. That speaks exactly to Jack's compartmentalization, because it happens. These double lives. Yeah, these double lives exist. I think that, so I adored my father forever, and all I knew is that for about 9-10 hours a day, he disappeared to a company that he worked for 30 years. I don't know what he did really all day.
So with the BTK case, Kerri has told me that there were trinkets, you know, there were souvenirs that her dad had saved of his 10 known victims. Right now, they are going through storage units and also the basement of Rex Heuermann's house. What do you suspect they might find?
Exactly. You're looking for somebody who is creating this narrative with exhibits, if you will, that can provide these memories. There's a reason that this happens. These aren't just random frequently. And so what you will get is somebody who is finding something that will represent a memory for them. So you have, just like BTK, somebody who has a whole plethora of pieces that simply are like a scrapbook. And what I appreciate is this first-person perspective. I think it's so easy for all of us to sit back from a distance and say, if I were in this place, you're not in this place. You have no idea what it is to be this deep, this dark into a position with somebody who is desperately trying to make sure you will never know what it is that I'm carrying inside my head, inside my heart.
And you know what? Whenever I cover stories like this, the family always ends up retaining someone like yourself, Josh. And that doesn't necessarily mean guilt, is what Kerri is saying. It kind of helps mitigate this whole whirlwind that their lives have just crashed.
Yeah, and you make an excellent point. Just because someone's bringing in an attorney to act as a barrier and a mouthpiece, it's a protective retainer. It is to keep the cruelty of the world from affecting these families any more than it's going to, because they have been traumatized. This is something that's never going away. Their life is never going back to before this arrest.
She said it herself. She said, even just today, I had people on me from Twitter, basically, and I'm guessing, accusing her family of somehow knowing about this, or at least alluding to it. And imagine what it is to be in that space where you really are being victimized. You're living in the shadow of a serial killer, and they'll turn around and say, you really knew, didn't you?